How can a country build so much, so fast, that its future seems to race beyond its past? Where does that leave the rest of the world watching China finish megaprojects that would take a lifetime elsewhere? Find out what happens when ambition finally outgrows gravity. History is written in stone, steel, and the relentless ticking of deadlines. China's craving for megaprojects didn't erupt from the present. It simmered across decades of crowded cities, stifled rivers, and a raw dream of prosperity that simply refused to yield. Picture the 1,982nd. Bridges inching across the Yangtze, tunnels clawing at the belly of mountains after a century of trial. And then, almost overnight, the horizon multiplied. Whole systems stitched the country together. North to south water transfer, bullet trains, slicing snowfields and deserts. A canal built on the audacity of ancient emperors and 21st century planners. Rival cities shuddered awake, each monument a challenge thrown at history itself. Here, progress wasn't a word, it was a weapon. Global glances tell a twisted story. Other nations tried and stumbled to keep up. The US poured billions into infrastructure, but decades slipped by as projects languished in committee. Europe, bold but battered, watched Chinese railways eclipse their own speeds. For every record China chased down, a canal deeper than the Panama, a train faster than Japan's best, a new question took root. What happens next when ambition surpasses precedent? But in each story, awe is shadowed by doubt. With every new skyline, an older world flickers and fades. If a canal can reroute mountains, what else can it erase? If cities can rise in 5 years, how long before someone asks what's left beneath the pavement? Every bold idea leaves its mark and its mystery. And so, the march continues. Endless, relentless, loud enough to drown regret, leaving the rest of the world blinking in the dust, reaching to keep pace, wondering just how far China's megaproject fever will go. This is the inflection point, thick with awe and unease. In 2025, China is building and rewriting what a nation can achieve, fast, vast, with a whisper of danger where the concrete meets the cloud. Start with the $10 billion Pinglu Canal, an audacious slash through 134 kilometers of mountain. This isn't a gentle waterway, it's a deliberate surgical strike, cleaving Guangxi, threading 5,000-ton cargo ships from the inland belly of China directly to the Gulf of Tonkin. China's first major canal since the Sui dynasty, now built in years instead of centuries. With cargo capacity dwarfing the Panama Canal, the stakes aren't just economic, they're continental. Who profits and who is displaced behind those gleaming locks? The Huajiang Canyon Bridge, poised to become the highest on Earth. At 625 meters above the ground, you could fit the One World Trade Center underneath and still have 80 meters to spare. It's breathtaking, but also a dare. What happens if nature pushes back? Villages vanish as pylons rise. Some get new homes, others become legends lost in the mist. Zoom to the shimmering expanse of Anyang Province, where a floating solar city, rivaling anything built in the West, spreads across 100 kilometers of lakes. Once mining wastelands, now transformed by $2 billion into the world's largest floating solar farm. These solar panels power 1.2 million households. The world applauds the march toward clean energy, but locals remember lost lakes and old boundaries. If innovation can flood a valley, what's left for memory? Now, plunging beneath the Pearl River, engineers have bored a 13-kilometer tunnel for the Shenzhen-Jiangmen high-speed railway, enough to unite the Greater Bay Area into a super region. Drilled deep with machines wielding diamond-tipped heads, the tunnel brings 50 million passengers across in 30 minutes. But beneath this efficient miracle lies a gnawing risk. The Earth doesn't always want to be tunneled, and nothing built at speed is safe from the tremor of regret. Out west, the Tibet-Xinjiang high-speed railway races through 1,838 kilometers of deadly altitude, connecting isolated plateaus with economic hubs. It's more than a rail, it's a geopolitical power, unlocking $100 billion in resources, raising tourism by 35%, and slashing transportation costs by 80%. But with 90% of its path above 3,000 meters, the line is a scar across both geography and culture. As trains rush through, some local breath, literally, must come with onboard oxygen, a reminder that human lungs aren't designed for this altitude or this pace. In Guiyang, the new big data valley emerges, 30 massive centers processing half of China's e-commerce transactions, sucking in talent as rapidly as it processes terabytes. A new Silicon Valley, but built in 3 years, not 30. The area's climate cools the servers, but can it cool the race for dominance? Or the rising unease from locals as data becomes the new oil? The scale astonishes. The risk multiplies. Yet, beneath every architectural marvel, whispers linger. Was this progress or betrayal? Every record broken by concrete leaves a footprint shaped by both hope and dread. Each achievement stacks atop a cost, not in currency, but in rivers rerouted, in homes reimagined, in histories rewritten. But when every region races to become the next Silicon Valley, when canals and railways erase borders and boundaries, who decides what is truly worth building? And, more sharply, who is left behind? China's megaprojects are beyond steel and concrete. They are seismic ripples, reshaping economies, ecosystems, and societies. The sheer scale of these projects creates waves felt far beyond the construction sites, altering the course of rivers, the destiny of towns, and the balance of power. Economically, the investments are staggering. Over $1.3 trillion has been poured into infrastructure under the current 5-year plan, fueling millions of jobs and creating whole new regional economies. The Tibet-Xinjiang high-speed railway, for instance, unlocks $100 billion in resources and slashes transportation costs by 80%, promising prosperity, but at a steep social cost. Entire communities are uprooted, villages abandoned, traditions disrupted in the name of progress. Yet, the promise of connection and growth often dangles hope before the harsh reality of displacement. Environmentally, the impact is equally profound. The Pinglu Canal cuts through mountain ranges once untouched for centuries, altering water systems and local ecosystems. Floating solar farms, designed as triumphs of clean energy, shine brightest over lakes that were once natural habitats. These projects mitigate carbon emissions, but raise questions about what is lost in the transformation of land and water. The South-North Water Diversion Project, a cornerstone of water strategy, has brought relief to some areas, but caused shortages in others, producing a chain reaction of environmental shifts that require even more engineering to fix. Globally, China's megaprojects ripple with geopolitical significance. Belt and road investments surge to record highs, entwining China's fate with dozens of countries, driving trade routes, and often stirring unease about debt dependency and governance transparency. On the world stage, these projects are instruments of influence, wielded with precision and ambition. Who really wins when the world's tallest bridge casts a shadow over ancient lands? And who pays the price when progress stretches beyond the horizon, leaving footprints in places no one can reclaim? The fallout of these monumental projects is complex, woven with threads of hope and sacrifice, innovation and loss. Each megaproject, a story of audacity, but also a cautionary tale written in the soil, water, and lives it touches. The great paradox of China's 2025 megaprojects is this: in their soaring ambition to conquer space and time, they have altered the very ground beneath their feet. The canal carved through ancient mountains, the highest bridge suspended above clouds, the railway threading ice deserts, all are monuments to human will wrestling with gravity itself. As the last volumes of concrete set, the giant vessels float on newly minted canals, and trains roar through tunnels carved beneath rivers. a haunting question echoes in the wind. What have these feats demanded in return? Villages shifted, histories buried, landscapes re-scripted, none of it invisible, but often forgotten beneath the glittering headlines and record-breaking stats. And yet, for all the unease, you cannot look away. There's a raw power in watching a nation build futures at a pace that defies conventional limits. It's a kinetic sculpture of hope and hubris, the future being molded in real time, right before your eyes. If ambition is a weight, then these projects have bent the planet's balance in ways both visible and invisible. Mountains carved, rivers rerouted, ecosystems forever altered, all in the name of progress that cannot wait. But at the fulcrum of progress and cost, what remains is a truth both simple and profound. No empire, no matter how vast or powerful, can build beyond the pull of gravity without paying its price. The Earth remembers every scar, every stone shifted, every forest felled or lake diminished, silent witnesses to this grand engineering dance. The relentless march forward leaves behind a world both renewed and irrevocably changed. So, as you watch the sun rise over rivers rerouted and cities reborn, ask yourself, whose footsteps echo through these transformed valleys? Whose dreams were the blueprint? Whose lives became the cost? In the shadows of skyscrapers and sprawling solar farms, there are stories of displacement, sacrifice, and resilience often muted by the glory of achievement. Because this is China in 2025, where ambition breaks records and rewrites reality. And what happens when ambition finally outgrows gravity? The answer isn't in the headlines, it's etched in the earth beneath your feet. A story still unfolding, one that will shape generations long after the buildings have risen and the tracks have cooled.